Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Jersey Nerds Podcast, a surprise episode of the Jersey Nerds Podcast. A couple weeks ago, or I guess probably a month ago by now, whenever we, came back, I said we were going to do bi-weekly, but hey, we want to record, we got a topic to talk about, so we're doing it only a week out. And it looks like Burkus and you guys on the Discord, sorry, it looks like your episode's going to be pushed back another week, your takeover episode. With me today, I've got Justin and Steve. How you guys doing?
Yes.
Good answer.
Just recording a podcast.
Just recording a podcast. How about you?
In this time, since we missed it.
Yeah, we realized last time that I completely forgot about it. Now that I've become the host, I've just totally forgot about my roots, apparently.
Too many things on the brain.
Too many things on the brain.
One needs to carry it on now.
Oh, yeah, I also forgot.
Welcome
to the Jersey Nerds Podcast, your home for debates and discussions surrounding sports uniforms, hockey jersey design, and more. I'm just recording a podcast. There we go. That's the new intro. I got to go right into that.
I like it.
There it is. Okay. So, what are we wearing, guys? Justin, what are you wearing?
Khaki. No, I'm not. I'm wearing sweats. I am wearing hold on, let me check the year. A 2018 All-Star jersey for the Metropolitan Division with Chris Letang on the back and a little friendly penguin on the shoulder there, repping the favorite team, of course. Just seemed topical given the weekend that it is.
And also the topic for today's show, which we will get into.
Topical given the topic.
Steve, what are you wearing?
Wearing the Penguins' new alternate, number 71, Malkin. Thank you to Justin for telling me the place 5 minutes down the road, having a sale for it.
I think it was Malkin's first came back. They were like, if Malkin scores, we'll do I think it was like $75 off. And then he scored 2 goals, and everyone was like, so is that $150 off? And they were like, no.
No, it was. And by the way, this is an authentic. So it was $150 for it. So $71 off, which that's a heck of a deal.
Oh, $71 off, duh.
When you say authentic, you don't mean made in Canada, right?
No, not made in Canada.
I figured. Because
it's the retail authentic.
Right.
Because their naming scheme is arguably predatory at best or at worst.
True.
Right.
Me, I am wearing the jersey that was brought up at the end of last week's podcast, the Dallas Stars Reebok Premier home replica with Jamie Benn on the back. This jersey has now officially been sold to one Burkus Circus. So if any of you guys heard that and wanted it, I apologize, but this one's been sold. Figured I just have to ship it out now. Figured I'd give it one last whirl. And now, I can't remember if I'd ever done it before, but now you can officially say it was a Jersey Nerds Podcast worn jersey. So
there you go. That's high value.
Gonna have a lot of resale value on it now.
I was gonna say maybe we should jack up the price before you send it out.
Well, it's I gave him a little bit of a friends and family discount of $60. So Burkus, now that it's been one on the podcast, we got to add another 1,060.
Right. It's only fair. I love it.
So, we are gathered here today, fellas, on
celebrate the life of the NHL All-Star Skills Competition.
I don't know if the life is the way to describe that.
There wasn't much life this year, I'll be honest.
It is Friday, February 4th at 10:30 p.m. The skills competition ended about a half an hour ago, and we are here to talk about how bad it is and what we would do to change it, because boy, it is something else.
Not good.
I meant to do this before we started, but I'm going to pull up the event notes, or not event notes, the, format of everything. I don't know if we want to go through and just talk about each event kind of, in order, or if we think
watching the event was already too much airtime for a lot of those.
But here's the thing, we'll have more fun actually talking about it, right?
I was going to say, why don't we start with what event most out of it and thought had the most promise for staying?
That's fair.
I feel like the mainstays are still great. Like the fastest skater is still good. There's a couple things I'd change, but like the fastest skater is still good, and we'll get into changes later. Like fastest skater is still good, hardest shot is still good. Accuracy, they went back to the styrofoam targets instead of the weird like light up ones, and that was great, and I think that's always been my favorite. So I think those three are always, the highlights, and barring like regardless of what you do, I think those core three have to stay, and then you can fiddle with whatever you want out of there.
Yeah, those ones are the most skill of the skills competitions, really. Um, I must ask, since I was looking this up, which ones did you name again? The accuracy, skater, and
And hardest shot,
okay, yeah, that's what I figured. Yeah, those are definitely the most,
like
I guess,
historical
skill
one.
of the
Yeah,
skill ones. Yeah, it they fit in the best. Um, and even some of the newer ones were fun, but there is. I'll just start with this so we don't have to bring it up every single time. I think the biggest problem with this is that the players are boring. They do not have they most of them have very boring personalities, at least on camera. Like I have no idea what any of them are like in person or off camera, but on
fair.
camera they are all extremely boring. And also the commentary for it was not very exciting
I
either.
mean, they had what, the like Canadian host of Family Feud or whatever doing the Las Vegas Strip events, which is like what, like he didn't know what he was saying half the time. He was like, oh, like he was talking to Jocelyn Lamoureux Davidson. It was like, oh, so you're the only woman here. It was like that wasn't necessary. Like it was like this
way
doesn't
to
add anything.
way to state the obvious. And another gripe that I have,
Uh,
I don't know if we'll get to that later too, but it was the beginning of the breakaway competition where the Kirill Kaprizov was about to go up, and they're like, he's gonna honor his favorite player. Like, duh, let it speak for itself. I don't think he needed to explain that when he
Right.
pulls on. I guess not pulls
Called
on, but
show,
took
don't
off
tell.
he took off his jersey, and there's an Ovechkin jersey, and he uses a right-handed stick and does his celebration. Like, you didn't need to explain that.
I'd like to say something real quick about the breakaway competition,
We apologize
where
as
I
well
felt
for Steve's video, or I guess lack of. It's just, at least on my end, it's been completely frozen with the occasional skip.
I'm
The
sorry.
Steve screenshot, the Steve shot.
I apologize for that
And
right
again,
now.
Steve,
But
do not turn off your video without giving me warning because it'll mess up the whole layout.
you got it. So, getting back to that, the breakaway I felt was like where we got the most expressive players and the most creativity. Yeah, some of it was a little cheesy, like the magic trick and everything. I understand it's Vegas, so it fit. But I gotta say, Zegras doing the blindfold trick, that was just that was creative in it of like another sport, the NBA and their and I know you two are a little too young, but I remember watching videos on the Raptors in the early thousands do the I don't know for it, but it was almost like a windmill between the legs dunk, and, and the dunk competition has gotten so crazy. Way competition reminded me a lot of that, and that's what draws a just to watch is to watch the overtopness. So life is a positive. It might not be a positive to the purists of hockey at the same time, because I'd like to actually see them use some fancy work instead of just gimmicky stuff. But at the same time, I feel like that was the other positive from the entire event besides the core three.
Yeah, and I was surprised. I was looking it up afterwards. It feels like we've had a couple breakaway challenges before, and I looked it up, and we haven't had it since 2016. Which I mean, I know there wasn't one last year, but like I had figured out for some reason I thought we had 1 year without it because I remember the last All-Star game didn't have it, but we've had a few. But that is one that like is that newer wave kind of stage, which is done well. Like I think we saw, I think both of the two new events we had this year were kind of stinkers. Not for lack of concept, more for just poor execution, I would say. Um, but something you just mentioned that it kind of piqued something to me. It was funny that Jack Hughes pulled off a better magic trick than the magician who was at the event to unveil the matchups for the next game.
I don't understand why they shoehorned that in.
Oh, that
It
was
was
so bad because, see, I was even like, I'll admit that they kind of got me. Like, Gritty pulls the thing out of the stick.
that
Hey, who's
was
gonna pick
cool.
me? And then I was like, all right, well, they probably each had that. And then whenever they pull out, all of them pull out things that said Metro. I was like, okay, so it was Metro from the start, right?
Also, they never.
Either
It
that or
got
they
me that.
somehow managed to have all three in all three sticks.
Also, they never showed like it made me realize they never showed you the cards that they were playing, like the cards that
Mm,
he had Marchessault pick from. So I would put money on the fact that there were four Metro cards, and he would. And
well,
also,
three, but yeah,
funniest moment to me, could Marchessault not read the card? Like
I
he
know.
pulled it out and he was like meh, meh, and
I
he's
was
like
like,
man,
what?
it was almost like he pulled out the Central Division card and was gonna say it and was like, "This isn't how it's supposed to be."
I was
And the
gonna say
magician was like, it's the Metropolitan."
that's also possible now that I think about
I'm
it, because I think they were like sitting on a table whenever he picked them up, but
You know
I
what?
I wasn't
Now that
looking
we
close
talk
enough
about
to
it,
know what it
I
said.
bet he pulled a card that said Pacific, and in his head he was like, "We're the Pacific.
Well,
We can't
no,
be
because there
playing the
there was only
Pacific."
three. They didn't put all four because of that.
Oh, did that? Okay, there you
At
go.
least I think so. That's what I recall.
Who knows? But yeah, it was funny to me that he got it, and I remember seeing stuff on Twitter and stuff. Everyone was like, "Okay, I know hockey players aren't like the brightest, but like, can they not read? Like, is that how bad it is?"
Honestly, I just thought of this too. I feel like that would have been a lot more fun if it was more traditional. Like he has a whole deck of cards. It's like pick a card, and then there were like three types of cards in there. There was Central, Metro, and Pacific.
Yeah, yeah, you could do it like with a full deck of cards, and like each suit
Yeah,
is like a division.
I mean, not
Yeah,
even
I'm
that.
wondering,
Just like have a custom deck. Okay, hold on. How
yeah,
many how many
wondering
All
if
Stars
it
are
was.
here? How many All Stars are at this game?
less than 52.
Okay, I was gonna say, how cool would it be if they sold in like retail sold a deck of cards that had all of the players on it?
Also, speaking
That
of
would be
how
sweet.
many All-Stars are there, ridiculous that Trevor Zegras isn't even in the All-Star game, and they bring him all the way to Vegas just to do one shot. Like, it was weird. It was weird to me that the breakaway challenge was just one thing. Like in the past, I remembered them having like, three or four different shots where they could kind of try and one up their score
It
from the
used
last.
well, it used to be like where you would get graded and then you'd move on
Yeah,
round by round. And I
yeah.
feel like if they did that for the breakaway competition, where like time someone where they'd give you, I don't know what, 10 seconds to,
Right. Do your thing.
because I remember the early years, like I remember, and even some in the 90s, it was all you figured out what to do.
Hmm.
So I feel like if they did the breakaway as kind of like the fourth main event and just did it in 2 rounds or 3 rounds, that would
Hmm.
have been great.
I think that's something that I missed out a lot on, and this kind of moves the conversation from things that were good to things that I would change. But like, I missed the head-to-head component of a lot of it. Like, I know in the past they had like the fastest skater, even they had two guys on opposite sides of the ice and kind of starting and like
Yeah,
chasing each other.
Yeah, I
It was
forgot that
like,
they did it like that. Yeah.
yeah, it was
I
like,
thought
and I
so
I
much
get
better to see two guys go at
right.
the same time, because it would have been like or like I just said, if they did it as a relay where like a
Ooh,
fast
relay
lap
would be
and they
cool.
Oh, yeah.
and they both and they had to end off something or they had to slap the next guy's hands, that would
Yeah,
have been awesome because
that would have been really
the
cool.
whole
Or
time and
even
they
do
could have
like
teamed it up as conferences.
Yeah,
head to head and do like a mini bracket tournament for a lot of these events. You could have done it
yeah,
for that.
that's
You could have done it for I think just about any of them.
pretty much
You could have
everything.
done it for
Yeah.
the Bellagio one. You could
Yeah,
have
that's
done
right.
it.
The Bellagio one was ridiculous because they had like a full rink set up where they literally had two setups,
I
and
didn't
then they
even know
did do
that until they like panned away to at one point. I was like, I thought
yeah.
they were doing the same one, and then I look at that, I'm
The
like, what? Why are there
the
two?
camera angles on that were brutal too. They had one like wide shot
Mm,
that they did, I think,
yeah.
just for the Jocelyn Lamoureux Davidson's, which was gorgeous, and you could see everything. And then they would go into like these like zoomed in like under the target. It was like, what are you doing? Like,
It's extremely cool having
For
it that dark
Wierenski,
and
they did
having the lights everywhere, but I feel like just for the sake of watching it, it probably would be better during the day or at least
oh
evening.
oh yeah, and like the
they
card the 21 and 22 one they had when it was weird too because I was talking to my
My
girlfriend
least
like,
favorite.
when
That
it
was my
when it
least favorite of all. That felt like a game or something you would do at a carnival,
oh it
where
was
you're
ridiculous.
just with like competing. And like, yeah, I understand they're trying to fill something, but like, infuriated me sitting there and watching that. I was just like, think either more challenging somehow by making the targets smaller or amount instead of them just shooting it right at a huge lit card. It just
The dumbest thing to me was like we have an accuracy shooting event. Like we don't need to dress it up differently and worse and then also have that event. Like it was like, okay, we're gonna go from this accuracy card
I'm
shooting
sorry, but did like
accuracy
half of
card
them hit
shooting.
the bar before they did the accuracy event?
I don't know.
I
It was
mean,
I
one.
let's be
feel
fair, it's not that
yeah,
easy, but like,
no. I'm gonna fully disclose what those guys do, and I respect them for it. But at the same time, it's like watching like you had Aho and Getzel.
yeah,
Yeah.
they did excellent.
They were snipers on that. And then
Gensel was
you
what
had
only a couple inches from four
you
and
start
four. He hit the post, right?
Hmm.
yeah,
So
Yeah, Gensel would have
yeah,
won had he hit that one instead.
yeah,
not hit the post, he would have won that. But like that when they started off with was it her
Drysdale was first.
not Dresden. Yeah, was he?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Draisaitl sucked.
yeah.
I get names confused sometimes.
He
But
looked like a beer league compared to the next like five after
yeah.
him.
Yeah.
Whoa, whoa. It was just one miss after the other. It's like I understand like that kind of competition you got to get into a rhythm. Oh,
Also,
that
like outside of the events themselves, like they need to coach the reporters, the announcers just better on what like the number of times I think it was every event they had, I don't remember who it was, but whoever was the ice side reporter, they had to like ask like, "Oh, what was your strategy in this thing?" And they were like Hedman was like, "Well, I wanted to shoot it fast and hard." And it was like I wanted to skate quickly and like I
was
wanted to it was like my strategy is to do the thing and win the game. Like what?
it, I have to agree. The quote unquote ice level reporter, he had some dry takes on it.
You don't need like an ice level reporter for a skills con. Like it's self-explanatory. It's kind of like with the what Bpoe was saying with the breakaway challenge. Like you don't need to tell me the joke. Like I'm watching it. I understand
And
what the
like
goal is.
the breakaway challenge too. Why did he try to interview them all before their shot? Like
Yeah.
just let it happen. You don't need to go in an
No.
interview.
No,
Like
but think for a second the company that owns ESPN. Have you seen a lot of the films or stuff that developed from said company where they don't do the show don't tell? They have to
Yeah,
treat everyone like
explicitly,
they're
yeah.
children. So it doesn't surprise me that that's the take. I'm not knocking ESPN on that by any means. For your first time in what 20 years or 18 years, however long since you've had the NHL on, I'm sorry, you need to be have a higher standard than what you
Right.
had in the
Right. You
skills
don't need
comp.
to spoon feed me what's going on. And I was watching it and it was funny to me that I felt like the most enjoyable part of the skills competition was watching the little rod hockey players do the challenge before as like the explainer. I thought those guys were great. Like I loved it. And then the NHLers would come out and I was like, okay, I'm
The
over
rod
it.
hockey
Like
guy.
I don't need this.
okay,
All
sorry
right.
about that. We had to pause real quick. Steve, believe you were saying something.
So yeah, but just getting back to my point with the announcing, they just need to get it up better. Like I understand once again, this is the first time, and you've got, and I fully respect that. It's not an easy job to do. I know it a D1 university as a student, and no offense, he probably could have done a better job.
Yeah, it definitely killed any moment. Like, and it was like even it was like the what is the 21 and 22 thing. But before they were taking their shots, it was like, oh, what's your strategy? It's like, well, I'm gonna go for the ace or the face card. Like that's how you get it. And I don't know if I heard it wrong, but I swear they didn't even play by the rules in that
Yeah,
competition.
that's what I was
I thought
thinking too.
they had two cards,
Well, I
and
think
then
they
they
had
ended up
two
letting
cards
it.
to start, and then if you got the blackjack, you'd move on, which two of them did. I mean,
Right.
I disagree with you guys that I think I liked both the Bellagio and the 22 or 21 and 22 challenges, and I think a lot of the reason they fell flat is because of the personalities of the players and the broadcasters that
Yeah.
were there. But and especially the 21 and 22, I think it does add a little bit of an extra flair to the accuracy type of thing. But it was really weird to me that Stamkos and Pavelski got the blackjack, and then they're like, "All right, everybody else keep going," and they all got
Yeah.
it. Like if they would have
Yeah.
just
No, that's the
if they
point.
would have just
It
had it
just had,
like, okay, now Stamkos and Pavelski go head to head, maybe even like another hand, do another hand
yeah, exactly.
or something like
Exactly. No,
that. Then
weird.
you two
You
go head to head, and then just see how long it goes. Instead of
Right.
having everybody go and everybody gets it and everybody moves on, and then it's like a weird just at that point just flat out accuracy shootout, especially when it came
Right.
down to that last ace.
Yeah, no, that was cool. I was thinking, I was like, this is dumb. They're just all gonna shoot for the ace, and then we're gonna keep going. And then I totally forgot that like if you hit one, it it's done, kind of thing. And I was like,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah. That part definitely helped it out from, you know, not just being the player shooting at aces over and over and over again.
right.
I feel like that could have been a piece had more planning been involved or more discussions. Like there was a rule I heard once when it comes to games, if like you have more than 30 seconds or you have multiple rules describing how the game works, the casual person, it's not really going to pick up. And
Fair.
no, I'm going to say this in a nice way, but I also noticed a lot of the younger mentality. A lot of the younger players have the flashiness and the personality.
Oh yeah,
Older guys, you looked at like Stamkos, he's just in Claude Giroux. Those two were just like kind of like, yeah, I'm here.
yeah.
I've
Like
been
I
here
feel
before.
like you have Zegras, Troy Terry, Suzuki, who they had in the Fountain event, like those guys there. I think Kachuk was good too, and I had a little bit. I mean, obviously, as we were saying, there wasn't a lot of personality in those events, but like Suzuki and Kachuk showed a little bit. I think maybe you take those older guys and keep them in the more meat and potatoes um, events like the hardest shot and the fastest skater and stuff. And what you said, Steve, that really makes me think is like my favorite events have always been those meat and potatoes ones. And if you think about what the rules are in those, it's like skate fast, shoot hard, like
It's
shoot good.
really,
It's the
Like
ones
it's
that
really
don't
really simple.
involve the
simple.
personality.
Yeah, exactly.
And like, let's be fair here. This personality thing isn't an all-star game problem. It's just a general hockey problem.
It's a hockey
It's kind,
problem, yeah.
it's the Wes Macaulay problem, which is kind of something that I'll call it that. It's a something that Steve Dangle's brought up before, and it's come up again recently. Where there's nothing against Wes Macaulay himself, but it's more the fact that his antics with the refereeing is just like, oh my god, like that's hockey's sense of humor. That's the
Right.
funniest thing in
Is
the
you do
world.
anything and it's hilarious.
That's the funniest thing in the world. like like it's cool, don't get me wrong. It's something that would be fun to keep doing, but it should not be the peak of fun in this sport.
Yeah. Yeah.
I also,
Go ahead.
I remember seeing if the cast of Letterkenny made a joke to humor or like the way hockey players act, and it's almost like a lot of them sometimes like if you hear them talking to a news reporter, like they go and they just say, we gotta play as a team. they speak kind of monotone, and I
Gotta get
feel
pucks in
like
deep. 110%.
right, exactly. So
200%.
I feel like what they were getting the point at is that a lot of those guys are kind of more concerned with their personalities. I'm going to say this, and a lot of people are probably going to hate me. Tom Wilson being there, Tom Wilson has a person, not a very likable personality. That personally, as a Penguins fan, you know,
At least
I'm a
on the
guy.
ice, anyways.
Yes, at
From
least
what
on
I
the
know,
ice.
he's a
Thank
good
you.
guy off the ice, and
Fair.
let's try to separate the hockey from the off
I mean,
ice.
yeah, and he has that
Right.
villain like same thing as like Brad Marchand. Like I
They're the
remember in
heel.
He's the
Tampa.
heel. He is the
Yeah,
heel. That
it's
is what
awesome.
it is. Villain very well, even though he's probably
Hmm.
like one of the nicest guys. No, I don't know Tom Wilson. I'm just giving him the benefit of the doubt. My point being is, you know, I noticed a lot of these guys who have personality. He got up every time. He fist bumped every guy that hard shot, whereas
Hmm.
really timid and just sat there like their coach them the entire time and was ready to yell at them the second they stood up.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that's it's kind of like as Bpoe was saying with the Wes McCauley thing. Like the breakaway challenge is super hokey and like it's so overdone, but we're so starved for anything that it's like, he wore a blindfold. That's awesome. We're like, oh, a kid.
Honestly, I now that you think about it, I was gonna say I think that breakaway challenge might have been one of the most fun events of the night, even though it was really corny. And I kind of wonder if
Mhm.
it's just because everything else was so bad in comparison.
Oh
Because
yeah,
it
oh
wasn't
yeah.
great. Like some of them were, a lot more fun. Who was it? Trevor Zegras with the dodgeball one. Um,
Yeah.
and that was a sweet move. Who was right after him
Hmm.
too? Was it Jack Hughes right
It
after?
was Jack Hughes who did
Oh yeah,
the
there it is. Okay.
kid in the box, and
Yeah, Jack
I saw
Hughes.
I saw on Twitter that kid is the son of the Devils equipment manager.
Okay. Yeah,
My
that was
girlfriend
pretty
was like, "Is
cool.
that his
Although,
son?" And I was like, "Jack Hughes is like 21. I'm pretty sure he doesn't have like a 14-year-old son."
yeah. Also funny is that whenever the kid was hopping out of the box, you could very clearly see the sheet he was hiding behind.
100%.
It was very funny. Like I would have
Which
thought,
I was
if
gonna
they
say, I think
really
that
want.
makes it better.
I
Yeah,
mean, it
but
makes it
you
funny. I mean, I don't mind it, but I think if you wanted to go for the illusion, you at least get in front of the sheet before the thing opens back up. But
But
hey, whatever.
or like have Jack Hughes go into the box and like not also come out. Like I think it'd be cooler of like Jack Hughes got like miniaturized or something. I think would have been funnier.
And also too, like Petrangelo at the end, I feel like his was a little bit disappointing.
It's just stupid.
And then he also won. Not that the winner really matters that much, but yeah, I feel like it just built up from Zegras and DeBrincat and Hughes, and then in comes Petrangelo. I was expecting his to be the most extravagant, and then all he does is
Right.
have the drum line come out. Like fun.
Right.
That
And it
would have
was
been a good. That would
like
have been a good warm up, a good first one. But the
right.
last one
And like
and the
again,
winner, yeah.
you fly Zegras all the way out there to compete in an event that was like clearly fixed for the hometown guy. Like, you
Yeah,
kidding
and
me?
I meant
Like,
to bring this up last time you brought that up, but that conversation sidetracked. That is a great idea for them bringing these extra
yes,
players along to the skills competition. You just
100%.
got to involve them more because sometimes the fastest skater or the most accurate shooter or the hardest shooter is not going to be in the
Zdeno
All-Star
Chara should
game.
Zdeno
Yeah,
Chara should be
exactly.
there.
Like they're not going to be in
And
the All-Star game.
to
Have
give
separate casts for the game and the skills competition, at least to
mhm.
some degree. Like, of course,
And to give
McDavid's going to be, fastest skater and all-star game all the time.
to
But
give the NHL credit, I did read that they did invite Chara to come do the hardest shot, and he declined. Which
fair enough.
fair, you know,
Which is
if
another
you don't want
problem. These
the way
people
if you
not
want your days
the
off,
players
great.
not wanting to go to the game. Which
Mm-hmm.
I know Adam Wild
here's
said
the
it
other
on the
thing.
podcast. Do it in Vegas every year. Make it a destination. Florida, as it was announced for next year, is also a good
Florida,
destination. So
yeah,
make it a
Right.
destination for the players. Make it fun for the players. Then they'll want to
yeah.
come.
Like no offense to like Winnipeg, but who's gonna want to go to an All Star game in Winnipeg in the middle of February?
Yeah, like I
And
think you can have other
Like
events there. Do it in
I'd
Vegas
also
or Florida every year, Hawaii even. Do something out of the box. Do it in
right.
fucking Europe.
right. It seemed weird to me that they were like,
Uh,
"Oh, we should do it in Vegas every year." I was like, "You're gonna have the
didn't
All Star game in the same spot
wait?
every." And then I
Didn't
was
we
like, "Oh, the NFL does that with the Pro Bowl."
have the idea for the pairs comp the one year Bpoe? We split it between Pittsburgh.
Yeah, that's right.
So we did like the skills comp and alumni in St. Petersburg, but the All-Star game would be in Pittsburgh or something like that.
Yeah.
Honestly, something like that could work. Do the skills competition in Vegas every year, have certain players there, and then do the All-Star game somewhere else. The only problem might be having to fly some of the same people out from one city to another in the night, but I mean, you do it with back-to-backs, but if you're trying to make it a vacation, I guess that's not really too feasible.
Hear me out. Hear me out. Hear me out. The skills competition would no longer be a game. It would be a preseason event where they would fly in the people show off. It'd be kind of like the starter of the season.
I don't hate that. I mean, I
guess
honestly,
then you could make it 2 events, but I feel like they do pair together pretty well too.
I mean, I would love you could do a World Cup, because I know like the World Cup of hockey was in September when they did it. You could package it in with that, and then maybe you only do it every few years instead of every year. Who knows? But something I thought was like even like I feel like even the good like events, like I feel like there was something like they made them worse than in the past. Like the fastest skater we already talked about, like the head to head was way cooler.
Well, this is what I'm wondering, because if you guys noticed, like 4 times throughout it, is that not only is the All-Star game for the NHL Bowl is also in Vegas on Sunday, which that's like a complete. But at the same time, I'm wondering how that would have affected between the two sporting events being hosted in the same city.
I didn't realize it was in Vegas. I thought it was in Hawaii still. I forgot they changed it up.
They haven't over 10 years in Hawaii.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah, that stadium's like that has been condemned in Hawaii.
Oh, there you go. That's funny.
I understand the destination. Like Vegas is a great place. It's like it. How do I say? It didn't feel Vegas event. If you understand what I mean.
I think they tried to be too Vegas almost. That it did.
Right.
That everything was half baked. Like the whole
right.
going onto the fountain thing was like such a cool idea, and like was arguably okay. It's just the presentation, like the camera angles were weird. Like it's like if you up the presentation value, I think you're in good shape there. But it did seem a bit like they tried to basically say, "Oh, it's Vegas, people will love it," instead of like actually fully like fleshing out things. And we're just like, "Oh, it'll be cool because it's Vegas," and not like, "Oh, let's make it cool in Vegas," and not just rely on the Vegas.
It did also seem weird that like there were no fans there on those outside events.
Yeah,
like, I get it. I understand, but like it just having fans watching or cheering on for presentation changes all the.
Oh yeah, like it was wild watching It was wild watching the 21 thing, and like it's spoken to Derek England before it went on. He's like, yeah, we only ever shut the strip down like 3 times a year, and then it was like you shut it down for these guys to shoot at some large playing cards. And like I was talking to my girlfriend about it, it was so awkward because they would shoot and then it would be like dead silent while the next day was like you couldn't have played some music or like done, like it was just like it was
do like sound effects, even like casino sound effects.
Do like,
and also
NFL
like most of these players too, like especially the fountain one, they only did that one event, right? Like they were on the ice, of course.
I think for the most part, they do that one event, and then they do like every player shoots in the same street unless your name is Connor McDavid.
See, I feel yeah, that's another thing. But I feel like you could have like those players just out there, or like somehow bring them out there mid-event, do the thing, and have fans be able to be out there and watch it, or even if you're going to film it the night before, have fans be able to be there and watch it, something like that. Honestly, I don't know how long it would have taken to set up, so maybe there wasn't really another option but to film it ahead of time. But yeah, the fact that McDavid didn't even get to go, I literally, that happened, I'm like, what the fuck, guys? Like, how do you, who cares if it's against the rules? Just let him go.
And I just realized, I was like, why is the count different? And the whole reason is because they brought Zegras.
Oh, that's
also,
true. Zegras,
he also participated in that. Like, they should have not had Zegras do that.
Either that or have him go last or something.
Yeah.
Like,
But
Don't
I think
have the best player in the league be the odd man out.
Save Streak is another one where like I love Save Streak and I was so excited for it, and I feel like they made it worse again by like, what is this tandem garbage? Like, what is this like Jack
Okay, that
Campbell and
wasn't a
Beth?
thing before, right? I wasn't going
No,
crazy.
they always had just the one goalie. And like Fleury had like 19 in a row his first year in Vegas or something, and it was awesome.
Yeah.
And instead, it's like, okay, I'm gonna be like, I think Cam Talbot. Maybe I'm misremembering, but I don't think he let in a single goal. And then the guy he was playing with let the one in, and they stopped. And it was like, what is going on? This is stupid. Like,
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's what I
because
was
they had a
thinking.
rule that if the last person before the captain, it was done.
mm-hmm.
Which
Well,
that
no, I
was
thought it
just
was supposed to be the captain. It was because the
The cat.
captain would
yeah,
go last. If
and
the captain scores, it's done.
this is what I'm saying. Is they had one extra person
Mm-hmm.
in
Yep.
the in that division, so that's why because McDavid was going to go, but there was one extra person in.
Yep.
Oh, I know what their reasoning was. That doesn't make it any less stupid.
So yeah, and it was awkward too because like they were like, well, like you could see there was like the consideration of like, we should just keep going, and then they're like,
Yeah.
just like you gotta, and it was kind of like the same thing happened with the Petrangelo thing. Like they're like, oh, that was just a joke. We're not going to count that. And they're like, oh no, it's like even
It
the
counted.
order was like, oh, I'm here with the winner and runner up, and it's just like, oh, just kidding. Petrangelo actually won, and it's like, what? You're going to count a 19 when this guy stole the other person's car? Like, I get that it was funny, but it was like, this is ridiculous.
I mean, it was funny, but I feel like it would have. I would be less upset about it, so to speak, if it was actually a good attempt.
Yeah,
Also,
that's true
like,
too.
let's look at these. How many of these could have just been head-to-head matchups? Fastest skater, you could do head-to-head
Yep.
matchup. For
Yeah.
the save streak, you could easily do that. You could have goalie at each end and have
hmm
them face off against each other in the save streak, and that way
Yep.
you get to see the other shot, and then it's like, okay, now I'm pressure's on, that kind of thing.
Gosh, dude, accuracy
Face
shooting
off,
would be
that
so
could have
cool.
been, yeah, that could have been that. Accuracy shooting could be, although that would be
Hardest shot
I
would
wonder if
be,
you
but
could
with
even have them like next to each other for accuracy
oh
shooting
yeah,
somehow,
exactly. I was thinking,
or
or even
like
saying
back
like,
to back in the same zone.
yeah,
Yeah, something like
that would
that.
be awesome. That would be so cool.
Hardest shot or in breakaway challenge. I don't. At least the format they had for breakaway challenge, not really. And then 21,
Yeah.
22, also not really.
I think the biggest
feel
thing,
like
At least
I
head to head
wonder,
in the way that it. I mean, I
I
guess it
wonder
kind
if
of
a
was
cool
already
event
head to
would be
head, but
like breakaway challenge sort of thing, but like do horse. Like, could you imagine like a
yeah, that would be
horse?
fun.
Zegras is out here doing,
I guess
Michigan lacrosse style goals, and everyone else is just like,
oh
okay, what am I supposed to
the
do?
biggest
man,
issue from
could you,
logistics standpoint there is that a game of horse could theoretically go on forever.
ever
Or you could do like horse like with 6 people. Like first person one takes a shot, and all the other 5 people have to make it. Otherwise, they're all out. Like you can just boom, 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 instead of the traditional horse thing where the first guy that misses it breaks the chain kind of thing. I
Yeah.
also something I missed a ton was, do you guys remember the like, I think they called it like the skills relay thing where you would have like one guy like deke around Gatorade bottles, then the next thing would be like guys saucer passing into
Oh,
little
that's
targets.
right.
They had
yes.
that was phenomenal. That was, in my opinion, the best
I
event
feel like
they've ever done.
they
They got rid of
needed
it.
yeah, they needed an event like an option to the event. And I
I think
feel
that's what I
like
realized is they need a like team event kind of like, the only thing that
quote
used like
unquote
a team was like the save streak, and it was like, hey, try and score on this guy, all you guys. Like you need like a team, like I'm cheering my buddy on because I'm next. Like I'm like, hurry up, I gotta go, and not
Yeah.
just like, yay, you did good, you shot fast, like yay, like who
right.
cares? Like an actual
I,
team
a
event, I
few
feel like
years
was really missing.
right. I do recall a few years ago in the A. I'm probably talking almost 10 years ago when they had it in Hershey. They did a thing where it was they picked 3 random guys, offenders, and 2 random defenders, and a random goalie. Have like the offense would have 3 chances in the offensive zone to, and I just remember how crazy the skills got with they just randomly pick the team. So you'd have like a team of all, or you'd have a team of like 2 would be hard hitters, and it was interesting because they did it for a full 20 minutes and it didn't get boring at all. Like, you literally could have done that for just instead of having them team up as they could have been like, okay, we're going to get the 4 captains of the divisions to pick player
any draft thing is awesome.
Right.
Like,
yeah, that would be fun. Or even if somehow it's like some of the captains do skills challenges in order to determine like a draft order. Like,
yeah,
I mean, I guess the problem
cool.
is you can't have the 4 captains do every challenge, but like, let's say the
Every
4 captains do
they should
the
have done the
accuracy
21.
shooting.
What they
And,
should have done is
you know,
that
in
21
order
and
you
22.
get your draft pick in order
Yeah,
from that, and then
yeah.
you do this challenge and you get your draft
have
pick in order from that.
Do the blackjack thing.
Yeah, do the blackjack
go.
thing, but in cards, it's all the players.
So if you had, let's say you had to make a skills competition, you have 5 events. What 5 do you use? What format do you use for each of them? Is it head to head? Is it just best time? Is it hard, just best number kind of thing? If you had 5 things, just rattle them off quickly. What is your best, most well done All-Star game, best 5 events that you would schedule into your 2023 All-Star game if you're Florida?
Ooh, I got this. First thing I would do is the fastest skater. I would make it either A, head to head, would make it a 3-man relay, where one guy does a lap, second lap, another guy does the third lap. So not only will it only count for who would be the fastest, but the fastest team overall.
I like it. Good. Number 2.
Number 2 would be the breakaway event. And I would probably make it just a little bit longer, but I'd also add some caveats like 10 seconds. You can't. I'd probably limit the gimmicky stuff like Jack Hughes long. I mean, Zegras, his was kind of like the perfect example of how I would allow it to go. But I would do I'd get the 5 guys of the number 4 and 5 in points, and then have a final round.
I like it.
And then event 3 would be shot. I wouldn't have that go head to head. Perfectly fine the way it was.
Numbers. Yeah.
I'd make it a little more grand.
Also, weird that they only had 4 people in the hardest shot, and then they had 9 people in the accuracy shooting. That really threw me off.
Yeah, that threw me off too. So I'd 5 people. I'd give them 2 chances still, but I'd try to get the crowd pumped up if they can. Event 4 would be the and I think under that accuracy, you can't change it again. I think it was good for what it was, but I'd probably make it more where you have music going the entire time instead of it just being silent and that, and a fun party rave atmosphere almost.
I like it.
For one, I would have to say that would probably way, but I would do it as the ultimately determine what goalie, or I'd have the goalies want to have to go against them, and I would do it more of they had it 2 at a time, but I'd have them both go at once, and I'd on clock of probably say, I don't know, 2 minutes. So literally down, hit it, go in. I'm saying 2 minutes, but probably that way they get through everybody at least once, but they'll have a certain time limit they can make, and then whoever wins that moves on to the next round.
I like it. Bpoe, what you got?
I think this is a tough one to pick just 5 for, because I think you kind of have 3 already in the hardest shot, accuracy, and fastest skater. So I'm going to kind of just go off the board a little bit, and I'm going to say let's put in neither of those, yet all of them at the same time.
I like it. I like it.
I don't know what order I'd have these in. I'm not going to put them in any particular order like Steve did, but I think what would be really cool is have a relay like they did before, but that includes accuracy shooting and fastest skating and like stick handling, etc. Have all of that in one event. I mean, again, you could have all of that in one event. Um, and even at that point, you could still even take some individual results and pair them up against each other and see how they did. Um, for two, I think I'd keep the save streak, but not in the format they had it. Have a goalie at each end, have them facing off against each other, have the shots come kind of more back to back instead of, a little bit of a wait between each one. Like as soon as the one's done, maybe give it a second or two, go into the next one. Hardest shot, of course, has to stick around. That one's fun to watch. Breakaway challenge for sure. I don't care if you go as gimmicky as you did this year or not. Just do something fun with it. And again, I think the gimmicky ones this year, like even the ones that took long, were planned ahead of time, of course. So I don't think you need to worry too much about time if you're not going to have anything that is sudden. How many did I? Oh, I did 4. My 5th one isn't anything specific. Do something based on the location that you're in. So Vegas,
Yeah,
something
that's
like
what I
the
was
21
thinking.
and 22, or the Fountain Face Off. In Florida, I don't really know. Something on the beach, maybe. Something on the
Something on the beach
beach.
would be
You could
awesome.
do. I mean, again, if you're gonna pre-record them ahead of time, you can go wherever. Um, do something with a palm tree. I've never really been to Florida. I don't know much about, or I have been to Florida, but it's been years. Do something in
I feel like you
Disney,
could do
like
like I feel like you could do like saucer passing accuracy on the beach pretty easily
yeah,
and get synthetic
hockey,
ice
the
and put
hockey
it
sauce
down.
kits, those little nets. Do something with
Yeah,
that. Yeah,
exactly.
like
And like the guys
work
could
in
be out there in
something
a
local.
swimsuit and flip flops. Like that'd be you could even like forgive me, but you could even have them shirtless. Like if you want to add that like little bit of personality, I'm sure there'd be some chirping going on that end. Like lean into where you are. I think that's a great idea.
What were we talking about before you asked this question too? Because I had something that I wanted to bring up, and you just started
Oh
talking
God,
about that,
who knows?
so I
Who
didn't get the
knows?
chance. Oh
I hardly
man,
know what I'm talking about when I'm talking about it, much less.
yeah.
Maybe it'll come up later. For me, I think the biggest thing that's been said, and we've kind of spoken to it a little bit, is like the team environment. Like I like Steve's idea of like the fastest skater relay thing. I think kind of like Steve, I would keep the original fastest skater just for the record book's sake and like seeing who is the fastest. That's cool, but I would love.
Again, I was going off of the restraint of 5, so
Oh yeah,
I decided
100%.
to group a couple together.
100%. I would love a fastest skater where you have the individual, but then you also have a team relay where it's one forward, one defenseman, and even one goalie.
Oh, the
Um,
goalie would be very
do
fun.
do all of it head to. I think one year they did have like two goalies compete in the
That's
fastest
right. I
skater.
remember that.
Well, I think that would be awesome. I think you should do that. And have it be a relay thing where, and again, keep it head to head, where they start on opposite sides of the ice, and maybe one team laps the other. Who knows? If you're doing multiple laps, maybe. Um, Hardest shot, I think, is obviously a mainstay. Accuracy shooting, I think it's great with the targets. I think like Bpoe said, head to head is the way to go there. I think you can have some more excitement there. I would still time it for record's sake, and I think that's important. Is like those three, I would always have a timer and miles per hour thing. Um, for save streak, what I would honestly do is not make it is like obviously the goalies are the important part there, but not make it be like the goalie has to get so many saves in a row. What I would do is line two divisions up. So have one division going each way, for example, the Metropolitan and the Atlantic. And it's not how many saves can the goalie make in a row, it's just everyone on that team who's shooting has to score. And how long can the goalie stay alive?
Oh,
Like I
that's an
want Tom
interesting
Wilson
one.
being the last guy on the Metro who has to score, and he's got to take 16 penalty shots in a row because he can't score. Like that would be hilarious to me. Like, and I think if you make it a head to head thing, that keeps it from being like the Bellagio one was this year, where you get to the final and then Roman Yossi is putting up like a 60-second time at the end. If you make it head to head, you can cut out as soon as one team wins. So I think if you do that too,
Not
it
even
Hockey
that, but
cuts.
version of
like
knockout.
Yeah, basically, yeah, exactly. And I
That would
think
be great.
I think
I'd
that way you
love to
get
see.
you get rid of the dribble in between shots that Bpoe was talking about, because it's like I gotta haul my butt back there because my next guy has to take his shot kind of thing. Like, and it's if go shoot. The other team's going to score, and it, probably keeps you more honest to, skating hard to the net, taking your shot. That way you're not dilly-dallying, taking a 20-second penalty shot. So I think that would be a lot of fun. I think
I'm gonna agree with that because too that it seems as though the difference between save streak and the breakaway competition is is flashy, the save streak is just score.
Yeah, exactly. So I think breakaway competition is a great thing to keep. I think, and something I missed this year, I feel like one of the coolest things to me about these all-star events is like when like even this you kind of saw some shots in the background, but like Claude Giroux was like hanging out with his baby, and like Joe Pavelski's kids were there and talking to Timo Meier because obviously Pavelski played for a long time in San Jose. I don't know how to do it.
But clip too, I think, of Petrangelo and his kids, right? I mean,
it
also makes
sense.
Yeah.
And then the little gold jerseys. Yeah, I don't know how to accomplish it. I don't know if it even makes sense because all these kids are obviously going to be different ages. But I would love to have some like kid involved event. And I know we saw it in the past with the breakaway challenge that's been built in there, and obviously we saw it a little bit with Hughes, but I would like something that kind of leans heavily on the kids. I don't know if that's a all-star skills competition event or if it's kind of like the mascot showdown thing that you do it kind of offline as part of the weekend or something. But I think that would be cool. And I think again, you need that team skills relay. Like I love different skills all at once is cool. Like when you had the saucer passing and the goalie goals and that kind of thing. And I think, something like that you could, and that's kind of where my idea for the save streak thing came out of, because I was thinking you do a relay and then at the end you have a goalie in front of the net and the last guy just has to score on that goalie. And like, it's like you could completely sidetrack all the good you did leading up to that point if the goalie just is a stone wall. So I think that's the biggest thing. And I think this one really hit home with the idea of like, the downtime in between, whether it be different people doing one event or that's what kills it. Like you gotta, in a skills competition like this, you gotta grab momentum and hold on to it. Like it was ridiculous seeing the breakaway competition, which was like pretty, exciting. Like people were happy to see it back, and then go to the 21 and 22 thing where it was just so dry and dead because there were no fans. Like you gotta keep it going.
So again, I think the more I don't think the breaks are that big of a deal if you have personalities there, but
right.
The fact that nobody, really has a good on camera personality, yeah.
It's like someday you might get personality, and I look forward to that day. But right now, you gotta do the self realization and understand who you are and what you're missing on that end.
Well,
but I think
here's the other thing. I just
go ahead.
Just like, it's an all-star event. Like I understand I might not have that like bubbly, energetic personality like someone from the NBA, and that's perfectly fine. It's just that you're not treating it as the event that it is like that.
Right. Something I would also like to do in what we're talking about with, Zegras and how we all like the idea of, bringing in that guy who has that personality and has that particular skill. I think in the events that are pretty clear, like hardest shot and fastest skater and stuff, you have a clear winner year to year. Bring that person back. Let them defend their title, whether
even
they're
retired.
Yeah, like let them. Yeah, like I want to see Chara out there clapping shots until he's 56.
Which again, apparently they invited him. He declined. Fair enough.
Right, and that's the thing too. If you don't want to go, completely respect it.
I mean, you can't force them. Yeah.
After taking hits for 20 years. But yeah, if they want to come, I would love to see, Al Iafrate out there. Obviously his record's been broken a couple times over now, but like if someone won most recently, like keep bringing them out. Like I'd love to see that.
Yeah. And I think I remembered at least what I was going to say before. I think this was it. An idea for the accuracy competition, or at least some sort of auxiliary accuracy competition. I don't remember what they're called exactly. I know there's a product of it, but some sort of knockout challenge where there's a product where it's like it's a net with a grid of 9 targets. Have it where each player, takes turns, and you have to get the most targets. Somebody's gonna win. I mean, I guess the problem is that if you get one every time, first shot wins. But if you miss, you miss. You don't get to redo.
I like it. I like that.
I would say tic-tac-toe, but tic-tac-toe is kind of a dumb game because you get
I know they used to
win,
like
basically. So
For the first, I think it was almost like dozens of years when they first did accuracy shooting. It wasn't even a time thing. It was a how many targets did it take? Did you
Oh,
get
yeah.
four? Did you get 4 out of 7? Did you get 4 out of 10? Like, and I think the speed aspect is cool. I also like a lot that the accuracy competition involves a pass. I think that's
Yeah.
cool. I would be interested. Again, I wouldn't do it because of keeping up with historical records, but I'd be interested to see how that would impact hardest shot. If you had to skate up and take a pass and then one time the
Mm,
slapper, just to
that would
see.
be interesting. Yeah.
I'd also like to do, and maybe this is where the kids come in or not. But I would love to see a kid or just a fan, an average Joe, like one of the three of us, someone who's
Mm,
played hockey before, has interacted with hockey, but is by no means an NHLer nor an All-Star. Go up, like
setting
I want to
setting
go
the
out
someone
bar
who's
there.
not an
low.
NHLer, an
Yeah,
AHLer,
I want to
an
go out there and
ECHLer.
yeah,
Joe versus pro
any
type
like,
deal.
I want to go out there and
Your
drop
average
my
beer league guy.
I want to go out there and drop my minute and a half lap around the ice just for context of all these guys who are getting 15
Yeah.
seconds. They're like, "Oh, you're so slow." Like, come on, McDavid. I thought you were better than that. Like, come on.
Or
Like,
like
It'd only be
even somebody
hilarious if
like
you like heckled
Draisaitl
every
getting
single
like
guy.
30 seconds on the,
I,
shooting, or somebody getting what 40 seconds or whatever. Who was it?
heck,
Huberto
to
on
add
the
like
Bellagio. Like, how long is that going to take your average person hockey
right.
player? Like, that's going to
To add the
take
local
a
to add
long
the
time.
local flair, get like a local get like John Hamm out there.
Yeah,
Like
as long
You
as
did
know
they know
what
how to
Darren
I
play
Hart
hockey.
there doing the
you want to
hardest
know
shot.
what I was thinking about? That Bellagio fountain one. It reminded me of Top Golf,
Yeah.
but with
Oh, that's
hockey.
true.
Well, because they did that kind of thing in St. Louis, and it was even more like that. Where like they had them in the concourse, like in the third level, and they were shooting onto the ice. And I think that's something that Brendan, as you were mentioning, with the like local flair. I imagine that's their thing going forward. Is there's going to be a kind of Top Golf-esque target shooting thing, which like talking about our beach. Like imagine you're on the boardwalk and the beach is below you and
Yeah.
shooting thing. Like I think
Or even
it's
like if
slam
you have like a
dunk.
boardwalk or something that's over the water, have floating
Shoot
targets on
into
the
the water.
water.
Yeah,
Like,
literally shoot it into boats. Like
yeah, like that would be
I
cool
was
too.
I was talking to my girlfriend. We were watching the fountain when I was like, "Gosh, I'd hate to be the guy who has to go back and clean up tomorrow morning after this."
Hey, at least the
Oh,
pucks have lights in them, right?
also, why were the pucks not just like always lit?
I don't
Like
know.
the
Or
fact that part of the thing was like, I gotta hack
even
this
even
thing.
if even if they didn't want to do that, like at least to have like someone else light the puck and pass it over
Yeah,
to
it
you or
was like,
something,
why,
or
why,
like
why is
leave
this
it behind you
guy?
ready to grab it.
Yeah, that blew my mind to see them like lumberjacking these
I
pucks before
know.
they showed those.
And a couple
It
of
was
the times
funny.
there was a problem with it, and it just kind of
Yeah,
it
I don't remember who it was,
ruins your
but
time a little bit.
one of the guys in the fountain thing like tried to light one and couldn't, and then said screw it and just got another puck.
That might have been Yossi on his last attempt in the
I think you're
finals.
I
right,
think it was.
but yeah, that was funny. I don't know. There's a lot of
You
potential, and the NHL, like always, doesn't
you
seem to
know what
run.
I'd love to see?
Yep.
You know what I'd love to see? Just because it was a ESPN property, I'd love to see them incorporate the old pro beach hockey as
Yeah,
an event for the All-Star game just because I know it's done out in Huntington, California, but like could you imagine just seeing like the retired guys in like their 30s and 40s and even
get
50s?
Messi and Chelios out there who are on the broadcast. Like,
Right. Right. Get them out there in shorts in like a lightweight jersey and put on a helmet and just go ham.
I like it. I
Have
mean,
fun. That would
Florida's chance if we're gonna do deck hockey, like or beach hockey, even like Florida is the
like
prime
have them
city,
have
I'd say.
them have them do like they did with pro beach hockey, or even just build a random hockey rink for street hockey out
Yeah.
on the beach. That would be the coolest thing to see, and that alone would just draw a big crowd.
So, in your guys' opinion, what do you enjoy more? Do you typically enjoy the skills competition? Is that your biggest draw of the weekend, or is the All-Star game what you're really pumped to see, or neither? Are
On
both kind of a sideshow and unnecessary?
honestly, it's been a while since I've seen the All-Star game, so we might have to wait until tomorrow for that answer, see how that
Yeah.
goes. Um,
I said
So,
this was the
I
last time I've
also
watched it, I never cared for it.
I
Like
want to
I love
bring up
it.
too, because I just had this idea based on your whole thing of having like your average Joe compete in some of these events.
Mm-hmm.
Bring in somebody like Nasher or Jeremy from How to
Mm-hmm.
Hockey or Steve Dangle, these internet personalities that, like them or not, they have a big following in the hockey community. Pavel Barber would be a great one for something like
Yeah.
the breakup. Although honestly, he'd probably show up some of the NHL guys rather than be an average
Yeah.
Joe. But bring in some of these guys who have a following on the, in the internet communities, and bring them in because somewhere, but Nasher and how Jeremy from How to Hockey have a little bit more skill than Steve Dangle because Dangle never really played. He's just
Right.
learning, but like, I would be shocked if they're anywhere near the NHLers still.
I also think too, there should be someone from women's hockey in every event. Like I think that's awesome that they've had them in the past, and I know they had like Kendall Coyne Schofield like show how to do the
Yeah.
fast skater thing a couple of years
well,
ago of having a better
what
time than I
I'm
think all
wondering
of like
is,
the NHLers that year.
I'm
Um,
wondering if was it the fact that like she was the only person that could get to the game or could
well,
actually show up?
I think this year is extra hard because you have the Olympics going on
Yeah.
like literally right now.
Right.
But I think it's a great, and I don't think the NHL does enough promotion of women's hockey, and I think that's something that they severely lack in, and they need to do better, to be honest. So
Which,
I think it's
like,
a perfect opportunity,
if they eventually end up, as rumored, of course, supporting a league, I wonder
which
if
would be
that would
great.
uptick. But
Yeah, and I think that's kind of women's hockey is a bit of a hard space because there's been such, disconnect or kind of separate goals between the PHF and the PWHPA, and I feel like the NHL has tried to not make enemies by not picking a side, so to speak. And not that they're separate sides at this point, and I know they're both working towards a similar goal, but I think the NHL has kind of given themselves the convenient excuse of like, oh well, we don't want to show favoritism to one, so we'll kind of show favoritism to neither, so to speak. But I think that's awesome, and I think it's really good at, eliminating the narrative of like, oh, it's just women's hockey. Like they only look good because they're playing women or whatever. Or I don't want to watch the women's Olympic hockey because it's just women's hockey. And like the number of people I've seen have been like, oh, I'm not going to watch hockey in the Olympics because NHL players aren't there, and I want to see best on best. It's like women's hockey at the Olympics is best on best. Like there is no NHL
Yeah,
not going thing
those
outside. It's
those
awesome.
women are it's quite impressive how good they
And you
actually
saw it
are.
Jocelyn Emery Davidson got third in the Bellagio fountain thing, and I saw there was some concern with apparently Roman Yossi even like started shooting before the timer started apparently in his like qualification run, so arguably she should have been in the final. And it's like, yeah, she's a great hockey player. Like this is, I think it's an awesome stage to show that and really, like I said, dispel that narrative of like, oh, they're not that good, they just look good because they're playing other way. It's like, no, they're legitimate incredible athletes, like, and this
Yeah.
is, they have skills that deserve to be shown off on the national stage as well.
we've got a cameo here from
Oh
one of my
boy,
dogs.
live studio doggies.
Live studio doggy.
I
Um,
love it.
and what was it too? A
LSD.
couple of years ago, whenever Kendall Coyne Schofield was in the fastest skater, she was one of the best ones in there too. Like I don't
Yeah,
remember if she was number one, but
I
she was
think she
certainly
was
better
third.
than a
I think she
couple
was
of them.
second or third. Yeah, it was wild. And then she ended up getting like that, pretty much jump started her into a commentary job with NBC, which is awesome.
I think too, if we're gonna wrap up this whole all-star conversation, at least until we get to the mailbag, we got a couple of questions. I think a big thing is that they need to not take this so seriously. They need to let it be fun. They need to let it be loose, laid back, and don't take it too seriously. Because it's the All-Star game, none of the players are going to try their hardest since it's mid-season. Let it be fun. Let it be laid back, and I think you'll
You
have a
know
much
what
better
I think?
product.
You know what I think the NHL should do is they should do what the NFL did a few years ago by hiring Jay-Z to be in charge of all the entertainment aspect. They
Mm.
need someone who's essentially an expert on how to maximize your entertainment value, and they just need to bring that person in and say, okay, what can we do in these major events Not
I
not
think
the regular season, just these major events where we get all our stars together or where we get these two big teams together. How can we maximize this from what we're already doing?
I think we're talking about how do we fix it, and there's all these ideas and stuff, and I think there's one like key solution
Jay,
that
let's
is
make a
almost
little
going to sound like a
cameo on the
joke, but I'm
podcast.
being serious. Is that I think what the NHL needs to have a fun, kind of loose, carefree All-Star game and weekend and skills comp. I think the NHL needs a new commissioner. Like I don't think and it's like Lou Lamoriello running the island. Like they're not going to do anything fun. Like it's Lou Lamoriello's in charge. Nothing against Lou Lamoriello. He's just a very by the book guy. And Bettman's. I have a lot of things against Gary Bettman. I'll admit. So
All right.
nothing against Lou Lamoriello. Plenty of things
Who
against
doesn't
Gary
who
Bettman. But
doesn't have
still,
something against
Like
Batman?
if you don't,
there's two
if
crowds
you
with
don't,
Bettman where the he's done great for the game and the Bettman sucks crowd. The
yeah,
real answer, let's be honest, is somewhere in the middle. He's done great
it's
things for
both.
the game. He's
Yeah,
grown the league, yet he, especially now, is a little bit more out of touch than before.
I don't think anyone is qualified for a job that they've been in for 29 years. That goes with me. That goes with Congress, not to get into that discussion. That goes with the commissioner. No one is qualified to do the same job after 29 years.
Especially if it affects things in this way.
You know
Right.
what else I think it is? Is that you also have to look at it as the commissioner's job is, and I kind of look at it like how baseball is right now. The commissioner's job is to protect the league and their owners.
Mm-hmm.
And the owners keep him in because he's a safe guy.
Yep.
It's not that he's not a bad. I don't want to say that necessarily. I mean, he's done some questionable things, like the dealing with Chicago and everything, especially how that
Even,
owner is.
even, yeah, even as recently as today. But it's another
Right.
Oh,
So, but my point is that the reason why he stays around is because those owners don't trust a whole lot of people outside
right.
of who
At
they
the end,
outside of
the
the
job is to say yes to the owners, and that's why they're
the
still
old
a team.
boys club.
That's why things aren't
That's
happening.
every
Should be in
sports
Illinois.
league. That's
Uh,
every sports league except I'd have to say probably soccer. Soccer's just
yeah,
a little more
soccer. There's
dysfunctional.
so much stuff going on there. Yeah, but yeah, realistically,
Yeah.
like I think there's a lot of reasons Bettman should go before even factoring in the All Star game. Like there could be no All Star game, like, and it would be fine. But like, I think legitimately
I think a
for the
lot of people were
NHL
having this conversation before this weekend.
oh yes,
Yes.
for the NHL to like legitimately, I believe for the NHL to have this fun personality, for the NHL to show personality in any environment. I think there needs to be new leadership because he's very. I mean, he was a lawyer. Like I get that you're
I
going
mean,
to
I
hold
think
your
he
cards close to the
technically
chest.
is still one.
Yeah, you're not gonna do anything you don't have to do, and that's very
Well,
important.
look,
And
well,
Gary,
look for instance, just look at how baseball's doing right now. They're currently in a
mhm.
lockout. Their commissioner is all about the owners, and
Oh yeah,
over the past 4 years, not only has salary gone down in the MLB, but the disparity between teams have gone. That's a conversation for another day. But my point being
right.
is that he's
It's
done
not good,
everything. He's done everything for one side, and I think Bettman isn't as bad as baseball, but
but he's
at the
definitely
same
leaning to
it
that end.
yeah, at the same time, you can definitely see where he sees a side of it. In some ways, that holds the game back. And I
Hmm.
feel like some of the teams look at it and say, maybe we need to get some fresh eyes in here. But at the same time, they're not going to look outside and try to bring someone fresh
Right.
in because they don't know how that person's going to react and they don't know who that
It's like
person's
teams
going to
hiring a
be.
GM or a coach. Rarely
Introducing the
do
new
that.
Right.
commissioner, Bill Daly.
Yeah, exactly. Honestly, that's the thing. It's like, oh, let's get rid of Bettman. It's like, okay, so we bring in,
Yeah.
Borge Jetman.
Shanahan.
It's like, okay, great. Or Barry Jetman. I don't know why I thought his name was George for a second.
Or they bring in Shanahan. They move him up into the position
Right.
of that. That's what's going to happen because they're going to feel safe about it, and it's going to necessarily be the status quo. But granted, I see hockey's kind of they do look at things. They look at
Mhm.
how things are run. They see where they can improve. It's just I don't think they take as much of a progressive take as some
Change
people would like.
change does happen. It's just not fast. and it lags way more than it should. But change does happen, and that's good. And I think we are seeing that in some environments, and we are seeing, a lean towards that more. You see things that are happening in Vancouver where, Rachel Dory's getting hired, and we're getting that kind of push, and we're getting
And what?
some leadership.
I'll admit I don't remember the name, but wasn't it? Don't they have now the first female AGM, the Canucks?
Yeah, yep. I forget the name as well. But and it's funny when you see the resumes of these people. When it's old hockey guy number one, it's like, oh, this guy played in the NHL for 15 years, 30 years ago. And when it's female candidate, it's, oh, this person has a PhD, 3 MBAs, has all this, and it's like, come
Yeah.
on, like, it's
And
ridiculous.
let's be fair, some of the guys who have played in the NHL have transitioned into roles very well.
True.
Right.
But that's of course not the case for all of them. Um, I think this is a decent time to wrap this up and move on to the mailbag, fellas.
Let's
What are
do
we
it.
thinking?
Agreed.
I need to get a
Mailbag.
little button to bring in to cue in the mailbag sound or something. Finding the old
Mailbag.
one. Mailbag, mailbag,
Mailbag.
mailbag,
Mailbag.
mailbag.
And like,
So, we had a couple asked tonight because Justin, before recording, gave a little nudge for it. A couple of them we've already answered through, the main topic, which is, thoughts on the new competitions like the, Bellagio Fountain and the 21 and 22. And, should teams come up with their own skill competitions, like based on their city, like for Florida. One of them, actually, I think most of the ones we're going to answer are by Burkus. Should the NHL go to the MLB's jersey format for the All-Star game? So flip around what they do now. The specialty jerseys, the All-Star jerseys, would be worn for the skills competition, and the team would wear their actual jerseys for the actual game.
can I answer this first?
Go for it.
You could have just done it.
Uh, well, being that you can't see me, I just want to make sure. But
Okay,
thank
John.
you. Okay.
Da, 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 da. Today I learned that song is a
Okay.
full rap, or not today. Yesterday I learned it's a full song with
Have you
Really?
seen
featured
that?
in a
Have you
full
seen
album.
that? Have you seen that like viral video where it's like the prank call thing of like where they keep calling and playing the song or whatever, and it's like, do you support the military? It's like, oh, of course. Oh, because a former Marine is gonna be in the Super Slam this weekend. It is. If you call this house one more time, sorry, go ahead, Steve.
I saw one that's just it was from some sort of longer rap or rant that he did in the ring, but it's just boobies, and then the crowd cheers.
I love it.
All right, but anyways, my thoughts are no, and my reasoning is because with baseball they primarily have two. Every team has the same color jerseys, one for away, which is primarily a gray color, and the other is white. And then, granted, you have some variations like pinstripes in baseball, whereas in hockey you deal with the clash jersey and the standard primary jersey, which is you usually have some random dark color and then you have a white jersey. My issue would be is that you have teams who wear a color helmet with a white jersey where other teams wear white helmets with the white jersey. I just feel like if you did the home jersey team versus the away team, there wouldn't necessarily be enough difference. And it could get confusing quite fast with so many different colors on the ice. But, I mean, if anyone else thinks it would be different, please.
I mean, I having played like pickup hockey and at local rinks and stuff where you play like, oh, it's yellow, blue, and red against black and white or whatever. Like it's do like even in that space, it's doable. And I think for me, as we're getting, like this year, there's 4 teams. You have 4 different divisions, but there's 2 jerseys, and theoretically, any team can wear either jersey. And fans are like, well, I don't want to get a blue Gensel jersey if the Metro is going to come out in game one wearing white and lose, and then they never
Let's
wore
be
that
fair,
jersey.
I feel like that's mainly just our sect of the fan base that
Fair.
thinks like that.
Yeah,
Which even me, I was kind of like that, but I want to get that blue one. I don't care if they don't wear
the
it at
blue
all.
one's nice. Yeah, I
Like,
think
I'll take the jersey foul on this one if it ends up being a foul.
I
I
think
don't care.
in this space where you're having like there seems to be a disconnect, and I think they're always trying new things with the All-Star game, which, kudos to the NHL for that. Is obviously it hasn't been met with rave reviews, so they've been playing around with it. They've done, the team draft thing. They've done 3-on-3 now for a while. I'd like for them to try something new, to be honest. But kudos to them for experimenting. I think when you're in that space and you're not really sure what you're doing, I think maybe it does make more sense to wear the All-Star game jerseys in the skills competition where it's a lot more static and it doesn't really matter. Um, that being said, I guess it really depends how you're doing the events. If we're doing what like we did this year where there's really very little team stuff, I think it makes a lot more sense to um, have yourselves in your individual team jerseys. That way you can kind of distinguish between the players a lot more. Especially if there's people who, aren't super big hockey people who are watching this kind of thing, maybe it does make sense. And I think I'm talking myself out of my own answer here. But I think now that I think about it, if you're in a game and you're in a more uniform space, it makes more sense to wear a uniform. Whereas if you're doing individual skills competitions, maybe it makes more sense to wear your individual jersey.
I feel like the question, you should take it to a point of you as a viewer on TV or in the stands.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. It would kind of be a mess to wear. I mean, I love the skills competition because I like seeing all those jerseys. But you're seeing him pretty slow, standing around talking environment versus like, six players on the ice moving in and out, all wearing different stuff. And now that I'm thinking about like on the NHL video game, like when you play threes and you have like a mascot with a different jersey than your team, it is a little bit off putting.
Because no offense, like, let's get back to the topic of Tampa and Toronto being in the same division. So imagine if they were on the ice at the same time. You couldn't tell them apart if they both wore their home jerseys. You wouldn't be able to tell from the speed of it. You wouldn't be
Yeah.
able to tell who's different. So I feel like
Oh yeah, I mean, I think I would definitely have divisions. Like one team would wear darks, one team would wear lights for sure. I wouldn't do color on color, but yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, you couldn't do color on color with that. My answer, is the same as you guys, and for the reasons that you guys both mentioned, I think it's fine the way it is. In the skills competition, of course it makes sense to have everybody in their team's jerseys because it gives people, more of a rooting interest for what team you're on, and especially for the casual fans. And even if it could be done in the actual game with dark on light, a bunch of different colors, it would still be just visually a mess, especially for the fans. But I remember the thing that I was actually going to say earlier that I'd forgotten about, and I'm going to tie it in here now. Imagine the All-Star format. You have the four captains. They compete in one event, let's say accuracy shooting, because that's something where I guess all of them should be somewhat even. And after that, they get their draft order. Each of them are like wearing their jerseys or something like that they're going to have. They get their draft order from that. They draft a player. That player takes off their team jersey, puts on the All-Star jersey. Those four players then compete in the next competition.
Next
Let's say
cap,
it's
yeah,
fastest skating. So you have to think, okay, Dylan Larkin is really good. He's a really fast skater, and he's a good player. Let's take him first. You know what
I
I
like,
mean? And then the
I
draft
love,
order goes from there. The team picks
I
the
love
next player,
that.
something like that. Like imagine that kind of format. It would take a lot of
I,
logistics, but imagine that kind of format. And then as the players get picked, they change out of their, team jerseys into the
I
All
think
Star
that's
jerseys that they get
cool.
picked
I
from.
like that a lot.
Even
I
if
like
you
that.
do it with like two teams instead of four,
Yeah,
just back, which will kind of tie into our next, what's it called? Into our next mailbag question here as
go
well.
for it.
Yeah, the next question, also Burkus submitted. What kind of changes to the game format would you make? Would you go back to a draft? Would you do North America versus World? Would you drop the player per team requirement? And yeah, I mean, I don't know what format I would do for the game, whether keep the 3-on-3 tournament or do. I'd say something 3-on-3 because it lets give the players more room and lets them be more creative. Um, but definitely go back to a draft and definitely drop the player per team
The
requirement.
fact that
Um,
Adrian Kempe and Tom Wilson and Clayton Keller and Nick Suzuki, all very good hockey players, all much better than myself,
Anybody in the NHL is a good hockey player.
are in the All-Star game. Meanwhile, Sidney Crosby and Mikko Rantanen and Jason Robertson and the list goes on, are all at home is ridiculous. Like,
I think it
and
was
the I
Dom
think also they need
Decision.
to stop. They need to stop sucking up to the host team too. Like, there's no reason you needed Petrolangelo and Mark Stone, and Jonathan Marchessault all there just because they're on Vegas.
Yeah, I think it was Dom Lecision tweeted earlier today what the All-Star rosters would have been based on GSVA, which I think is kind of his game score. Yeah, his game score stat. And like Metropolitan has Gensel, Crosby, and Letang from the Penguins, and Shesterkin and Anderson as goalies, and no Jari, which like, and again, that's probably what I don't see the Coyotes here anywhere. I don't see the Habs here anywhere. Stuff like that. And granted, I don't know if you can necessarily use a stat like that because I'm sure it is somewhat affected by team performance. But
and something like we talked about
definitely drop the one per team, especially if you're going to do divisions.
Something like we talked about with
inviting
people like Zegras to the skills competition. You know what? If you want to invite Nick Suzuki to come hang out to do a skill, great. But I don't think he needs to be a requirement for the game.
Right.
But again, if he's in the skills competition, that just means a longer skills competition, or someone more skilled isn't in the skills competition, which isn't exactly fair either. And I don't know, like I think it's like cool to see a player on your team there, kind of thing. But it's like I don't know if like say there were no Penguins in the All-Star game one year, that wouldn't like turn me off from watching the skills like I'd still get to see Connor McDavid.
Well, I mean, maybe it might to some degree if it's this bad, but like if you have an entertaining event, I'm still gonna watch it.
Exactly.
The problem is doing it for the bigger markets versus smaller ones that are more likely to turn off casual fans. Go ahead, Steve.
So in the 90s, the Penguins were so good. The 2 defensemen and 3 offensemen were all Penguin players. And they lined up at the beginning of the game. The only person it was who was the goalie for the Panthers that year?
Van Beesbrook?
Maybe. I can't remember, but I think it was the Panthers goalie. He was the only non-Penguin player out there.
I love it. That's awesome.
And
that's how it should be.
That's why they now have the requirement of 1 player per team.
I remember seeing like the NHL All Rookie team that they dropped for like recognition at the halfway point, and it was 3 of the players were Red Wings because it was Lucas Raymond, Moritz Cedar, and Alex Nedeljkovic. And I was like, that's awesome. That's great. I love it. Give me a whole Red Wings rookie lineup. I'm here for it. Like
that's something that could be fun, like a little rookie game or something like that.
Yeah, I mean,
I feel like the rookies are awesome.
They used to have the Young Stars game because I remember I went to the 07.
Or they could even do like a futures game where it's like some of the top prospects that are either A, still in college, or B, they're playing for one of the juniors teams. They can be invited to play in a game.
I mean, maybe I feel like you're going to run into some conflicts there, but the idea, is sound. Or even like NHL rookies or players under 23,
or
that
like
kind of pool.
People in the AHL, like you can easily coordinate with the AHL. Like it's like colleges. Sure, you don't have purview over what the NCAA schedule is, but like you can definitely influence the AHL schedule if you want to bring guys like Martin Firk has the actually, well, there goes one of my trivia questions, but Martin Firk owns the record for the highest All-Star, the hardest All-Star shot, but it's in the AHL All-Star game, not the NHL All-Star game. And it's like guys like that'd be awesome to bring him up to play around at the NHL All-Star game and do stuff.
Like I say, while you're at it, why don't you even add in some of the women?
Yeah,
of course, that too. I should have brought it up last week, and I honestly should have brought it with me in here in this room, but my dad has a jersey from the 92 All-Star game, whichever one was in Pittsburgh. I think it was 92.
I thought it was 90.
Well,
I wasn't
whatever year it was. He has.
Yeah, it was 90 because I was not born that year.
Whatever year it is, it's early 90s. He has a jersey from that with I think it's Lemieux on the back, and then each of the TV numbers is a different player from the multiple Penguins players that participated in the game.
That's cool.
It's very cool. I can go and grab it, but of course we'd have to pause for a minute. So maybe I'll do that. Maybe I'll do that at the very end of the show.
There you go.
Do you guys want to? I guess we'll move on. I was going to ask, but I guess we'll move on. We'll go with the more, I guess, off-topic and funny question first, and then we'll end it with another jersey question. So Burkus again asks, what would be worse, a house with all of us in it, so a lot of the fellas in Discord plus us, or a house with our usernames and profile pictures? So one of us is Ken Holland. We've got Patrick Laine. We've got me, which is a baseball, in quotes.
Okay,
We got Monarch Butt, I guess, Butt.
that's me. A butt, a butterfly butt, a butt or fly, if you will.
Yeah, no, having us all in it would be worse.
Having us be much worse.
It'd
Yeah,
be
'cause
much. Someone would end up dead.
okay,
Is
I
what
don't know
would
if I'd go
happen.
that far, but
No, I'm not
Yes, it's
saying
you
someone
ending up
would
dead,
murder
Chris.
someone. I'm just saying that something would happen where someone would end up on the couch,
That's
slumped
fair.
over for 2 days, and no one would notice.
That's fair.
that question honestly comes so out of right field. I don't even know how to answer that.
Oh, 100%. It's like a lot of the mailbag questions we had in the HJC days. It was like, how did this? It was just Ryan saying whatever came into mind about. Would you rather have a game worn jock strap or?
Which, like, let's be fair, I very much encourage non-hockey and non-jersey related mailbag
Oh,
questions that are just
100%.
fun like that, because they are fun. This
100%.
podcast doesn't have to be all of this, you know. Um, of course, some of our personality can shine through, unlike the NHL. We just talked about this for an hour and
Right.
an hour and a half or whatever.
Wait. I do remember the one time, I think it was me, Sean, Ryan, and TC on the old podcast.
TC, what a
Oh
guy.
man,
And Ryan just says straight up to Sean, he goes, would you rather have them sell replicas of Reebok jerseys or the touch of a woman? And he just paused for a second. He's like, he mentioned some off-brand player, and we're just laughing our butts off at it. And
Yeah.
that was like the off-brand stuff that we used to do.
They
Just
were wild times.
I
They
can't
were wild.
remember if it was like mid episode or if it was just pre episode or post episode. But I remember TC one time taking his computer or phone or whatever he was recording on into the bathroom and using the restroom during the episode.
Wow,
during the episode. No,
I
he
was
did that
mercifully not
multiple
on for that
times.
one.
Which,
Wait.
now that I think about it, I don't think we ever did a video podcast for that. Which I guess nobody
Thank
else would have
goodness.
known that, huh? Now that I
Yeah,
think
there you
about
go.
it. So,
Surprise. Unless he like ripped one and left his mic on.
TC, if you're listening to this, we love you, brother, and we are just cracking up at all the things you used to do.
we would very much enjoy you being back on as a guest if you are listening.
Oh, that'd
So
be great.
reach
That'd be
out to
great.
us, and we can
Come
figure
grab.
something out. I guess the last mailbag question.
Next question.
Again from Burkus, because the only other mailbag questions we got, here, as of today, were ones that we'd already answered in our main topic. It's again not All-Star Game related. Are jersey leaks a good thing?
Ooh.
No. I used
I'd
to
say
think
no.
they were. I used to think they were. I used to really like, and I used to like the idea of, and there was a couple times that I don't remember what jerseys now, but there were a couple jerseys that we broke, kind of leaked on
We leaked the
hockey
Stadium
jerseys
series.
yeah. I remember there was one I found on Reddit too, and it got a lot of views, and at the time I was like, this is so cool. And like now that I've grown up a little bit and I guess I interact with more people in the design space, like I think storytelling is so important when it comes to jerseys, and I think having the right
Not even
context
just,
for it.
well, I guess the question is jerseys, but not even just jerseys, but entire brand.
Yeah, that's fair. Like I think
Right.
like you see with the Washington Commanders, like people form their opinion based on a screenshot of a grainy logo.
Yeah.
Noted, I don't buy into their storytelling even now, but obviously this question is coming up with regards to the upcoming reverse retros and the rumors that are coming out. And I think even then, that's a lot less storytelling. It's just this is the jersey. I think it's just not fun for like me as a like hockey jersey enjoyer. Like I like the intrigue of like what's going to happen, what could they come out with versus it's like, hey, here 8 months in advance, team X is doing this. And it's like,
Yeah.
okay, like great. I can envision how like, and it's like, oh, cool. Now I can get an exact mock-up concept and be like, I told you so based on the things that I was told based on like, it's like, I like doing the kind of like, I remember going back to, the 2020 Winter Classic concept I did based on the rumors that there'd be like, that the Stars like trademarked the Dallas Texans logo and because of that, there were rumors about the Predators doing a Dixie Flyers thing, and then I put together a concept that ended up being probably about
90%.
90, yeah, I was gonna say 90% accurate to what they came up with. And then, since it was in Dallas and that's where I grew up, I got to go to that game. So that whole thing and like owning that jersey and going to that game and, more or less seeing a jersey I put together on the ice, like is just a super like cool core memory for me that I'll never forget. And I think like getting, had I known exactly, like had someone like said this is exactly what the Stars are doing, I would have been like, oh, that's a cool jersey and moved on.
So,
Versus like, oh, I envisioned what this could be and it ended up being, fairly close. Noted, I did have some knowledge or some rumor of what it was like. Oh, here's the logo that the Stars are copywriting for some purpose. Like it wasn't like, oh, the Stars will be doing a Dallas Texans jersey based on this design for this game that's in 8 months. Like, I think if you come out and tell me right now, oh, the Bruins are doing the Pooh Bear, the Islanders are doing the Fisherman, like, that's a lot less exciting than, like, seeing Adidas pull out that video and saying, oh my gosh, it's the Fisherman. I haven't seen him for 20 years kind of thing.
here's my take on it is that I think because with us hockey fans, we don't get as many new uniforms or whatnot as often. So when there's a rumor about it, usually people want to leak it because they want to know everything right away. And in today's world, you want the information right away. So I understand that. Whereas, like, I'm a soccer fan, and I've noticed it's really hard to get details upon soccer jerseys. Like, I know some places do leak potential ones because they have contacts within the retail space. Or they'll say, this is what it looks like, this is what it could look like. Like, for instance, Charlotte FC, their away jersey was leaked, but it's a terrible picture. It looks like a plain black jersey, but it's supposed to be green. And uh, I, I think it has to do with your type of fan base. But overall, I think that teams who don't prepare for something to potentially be leaked that's a foolish thing because with today's society and how fast things are, you got to be prepared for that. But if you're trying to sell a story, you want to do everything in your power to
right. And I think of like how excited I was for the expansion draft this year.
Right.
Like, oh, Seattle, they're do a lot of cool stuff. And then like the day before, like it was like, I mean, to some extent, like shame on the reporters for leaking. Like it was like you've completely taken all the wind out of the sails of like literally the first event of this friend. Like that just seemed like it just.
And like I don't blame the reporters for that because that's their job.
Yeah. Fair. No offense, but they could have done a solid and could have said, you know what, let's wait until they officially.
Right. Like that's
fair, but I can't blame them still.
I can't blame them either.
There is ways, like, to be fair, like in the industry, like there are ways to, and I know this because my girlfriend is a TV news producer, but it's not uncommon for organizations to give the news station, obviously sports reporters who work, for ESPN and stuff is probably a different thing, but in the reporting space, it's not uncommon for, organizations to give outlets information ahead of time with the understanding that, hey, we're going to give you this. That way you have a story ready to run, right when it comes out. So we can do the announcement at 12 and you can get it at 12:01. And maybe, maybe it's on Seattle for not doing the due diligence to say, here's the information, sit on this, instead of saying, oh, we're not going to tell everyone. And then it's like, well, I saw that they filmed, this over here with this pick kind of thing.
I wonder, though, was it the other teams that gave out the information, and that's why?
Yeah, I'm not really sure, but back to the actual question, I want to give my answer, and I think
you can do that.
I think rumors and speculation are fun. Like, if there's a rumor, the Islanders are going to do a Fisherman alternate jersey. It leads to so many concepts and so much speculation on what are they going to do with it. It's a little bit different if it's reverse retro because how many options do you have? But if it's just like, a regular old jersey or regular alternate, it's fun. It gets the, gears turning. It gets us talking. That part's fun. But everything like the full design being leaked or the
like
full
the
idea
Sabres
being leaked, that not so much. For one, because again, it just takes some of the fun out of it. Getting to speculate on it. But for two, again, being behind the scenes, me doing work with the PHF, we were part of a leak whenever we unveiled the PHF branding. Lucas and I worked on, the unveiling for it. We didn't do the logo and the brand itself, but we worked on unveiling it. And the night before, the logo leaks and the name leaks and everything like that. And again, I do not blame the person who reported that because it's kind of your job. But it was also the wrong logo. It's the version. So we have the main logo, which is the PHF and the crown, but we also have the one that has a larger black crown outline around it, and then a larger leaf for the the Canadian version that are on the jerseys, kind of like
Right, it was like the patch
on
logo.
yours one, where the NHL logo goes. It's kind of like that for us. And that was the version that leaked, and of course, at that point, everybody thinks that that's the primary logo and is talking about that, how they think about it. The next day, it's like, nope, it's a part of the logo set, but it's not the logo. So, just knowing the design teams and, creative teams behind the scenes putting in all of the work behind these unveilings just to have them, spoiled. Even if it's the same design, you at least have your narrative spoiled and everything like that.
Right.
So, however you want to spin it.
You also got to take into effect that, if the spoiler themselves, I remember, was it 2 years ago, Aesthetics did a mock-up of what the Winter Classic for the Blackhawks and Blues was going to be. And he said it was fairly accurate from his source, and I have to wonder, what happened to his source that told him this in confidence and he went and told it? Did he lose that source, is what I'm wondering, or did he lose his credibility? Because, leaking can go both ways. You can lose the ability to speak to someone from that.
Right. And I feel
let's be real here. I, in the position I've seen the PHF branding before it was unveiled. I worked on the Toronto 6 jersey, so I've seen that before they were unveiled. And, of course it would be fun for jersey nerds to, be the first ones to report that. But aside from the fact that it's a little bit, it's not a little bit, it's very unethical for me to have done that. It's going to burn a lot of bridges for where I'm going in my career.
I feel like if you have inside knowledge and you've got your inside knowledge, I feel like, something like if I knew something, I might be comfortable telling you guys privately.
I didn't even tell you guys privately too.
Yeah, even then, but it's if I had inside knowledge on an NHL jersey that I'm not I'm not directly if I was directly working.
You're not privileged to.
If I had some friend who suddenly started working for the Penguins and I got some inside scoop, I know you guys would be interested. I'd be I could see myself talking to you guys behind closed doors about it, but I wouldn't come on here and say it. And not saying everyone has to operate on that, but kind of like you were saying, Brendan, I feel like there's kind of a line between here's the design and here's a picture of it versus hey, I'm hearing that the Stars are going to do a black reverse retro. Because that's cool, that, kind of...
The Penguins are going to do a yellow alternate jersey.
Yeah, it informs...
They're going to have the script on the jersey.
But it's not just here is the literal thing.
Yeah. Or a little snippet of it, basically.
And leaks are never the leak of a, thing on a hanger, a Fanatics version or whatever is never going to look as good as even in the Olympic jerseys. I've formed different opinions from the official unveil to seeing them on the ice. It's how you present things are really important, and we all have interacted with graphic design enough to know, that's something that takes a lot of work. So I think it frustrates me when that work, is devalued because people have already formed their opinions, because it's a lot harder to, change someone's opinion than to form an initial opinion. So if they see some dinky view of something, it's going to be a lot harder to get them to like something that they might have even liked otherwise, because they have to overcome that initial, oh, that looks like crap when it's all folded up and in a bag at a checkout of a Nike outlet in the middle of Montana.
Let's even compare to, somebody's in a retail store and they see something, they take a photo of it in bad lighting, versus behind my green screen, I have a mannequin set up with a jersey on it, and I've got a softbox next to me here that I'm using for podcast lighting, but I got a set of them to take photos of my jersey collection because it's going to look good that way. And even then, my production value is going to be half of what an actual jersey
professional team,
because I'm not doing it for that reason either. I'm doing it for archival purposes, not
I forgot who it was. I forgot who it was, but going back to the Commanders unveiling and everything, I can't remember if it might have been Be More Creative or Brian Gundell, who stated that they don't normally give critiques because, like, them as designers, like, the thing is that in certain cases, they're just hired to design what someone wants, whether it's good or not. So the fact that a leaker basically says this is what the product is going to be, you worked hard on that as a designer. It is kind of low for someone else to do it prematurely, and I understand why they want to do that prematurely is because they want to get the news out. They want everyone to get excited. The other thing with that is, though, that sometimes you just gotta sit back and you gotta wonder, is it right to tell what's going on? Like, back when we had the old podcast, we were privileged some information from one of our guys because he worked for the company that was producing jerseys for the ECHL. None of us told anything that was going on with it. We got to see some things that are obviously out there now, such as the Atlanta Gladiators switching colors to the Thrashers colors. And it was nice, but we were put under the premise that we couldn't reveal it, and we respected that. I feel like...
And I guarantee that if one of us, put that out there, he's not sending that stuff to us anymore. He had to trust
He's not
us.
going back into the office either.
Yeah, that too.
He's not going back. Yeah, that would have cost him his job. So, point being is that I guess my wording is, if you're given privileged information, be careful about what you do with it or who you say it to, because you never know. That person might not have the same standards as you.
The safest route is to just not tell anybody. I mean, I think the only person that would, on my end, who would have seen the PHF stuff before it was unveiled was, Kelsey, live studio audience, because they were in the room when I was working on some of the stuff. And of course, we're 2 years into a relationship. I have absolutely, the most trust in them. So even if they're kind of in these circles, like, I know that they're not going to say anything to anybody.
Exactly.
So
right.
And the T6, probably would have been the same, but it was quarantine and COVID, so I don't think anybody was with me. So
fair. Awesome. Do you guys want to do a little bit of trivia, or we want to call it?
Oh, I forgot about your trivia. Yeah, I'm down for it, Steve. You good?
Sure.
Or you gotta head out? All right, let's do it.
It's quick.
Is this a group trivia or a competitive trivia?
Probably group.
Okay.
Please keep it group. I can't do competitive.
This is
that's
very.
Right. You've been awake for a while.
This is very applicable to group. Like only this episode too. But we were talking about the meat and potatoes skills competitions.
What was your question too that you accidentally spoiled?
Oh, the Martin Ferk thing of he actually has the hardest shot, even though it's not
like registered, but it was AHL.
Okay. So in that vein, who has? And this one's probably pretty easy, but I'll ask 3 different things. I really only expect you to get 1, maybe 2 of them. So first, starting with hardest shot, who holds the record for hardest shot? What year did they get it, if possible? And then
NHL
roughly
only.
NHL only, yeah, not Martin Ferk. So who has the record? What year? What year of skills competition? Obviously, what skills competition did they set it in? And then also ballpark. What is the record?
Now, I'm pretty certain this one's Chara, and I think it was like 108 something. I don't remember the specific year, but I'm pretty sure it was early 10s, like early to mid 10s. Anything, Steve?
What are your thoughts?
The only thing that I can think of is that Larkin holds the fastest record.
Oh, yeah, I think they brought that up today.
And that was done recently. That was done like back in 2017 or something like that.
Which I even remembered. Okay, we'll get to that afterwards, but I guess my guess will be, Chara in the 108s, and I'll say 2013 because I think it's somewhere in that range.
Pretty darn good. Chara, 108.8 miles per hour. Honestly, you did much better. Like
I remembered that, yeah.
Chara, 108.8 in 2012.
2012, so okay. I knew I was in the ballpark there.
So here's a question. If he hit it 108 miles per hour, could you imagine getting that to the ankle? Your ankle would be broken.
That's what I said as a joke earlier today. I was
Oh,
like,
man.
forget the hardest shot. Give me the hardest block shot competition. Give me
Okay,
Chris
let's not put people. Let's not injure people
Right.
for.
Okay.
Let's not intentionally injure people for entertainment.
Disclosure: please do not directly hit people with pucks over 100 mile per hour for science reasons.
So a bonus one.
Unless you compensate them very, very well.
2012, that year was the end of Chara's reign of winning the hardest shot every year. How many years in a row did he win it?
Ooh.
Or I guess how many All-Star games in a row? Because there wasn't one every year.
Was it 6 times?
Bpoe?
That was gonna be my guess, so I'll say. Ooh. Do I want to play Price is Right rules and go 5,
Right,
or do I
exactly.
want to? I'll just say 7. Screw it. We'll go a little larger.
Big on Price is Right. It's 5.
It was 5. I
He
should have
won.
done 5.
07, 08, 09, 11, and 12, and he got the shot was harder every year. So he was in the right direction. So yeah, 5 years in a row for Chara, and then Weber won it 3 years in a row after that, and then we've had a new winner every year since then. Okay, so we already talked about this one. Fastest skater, the record holder.
And I feel like I remember there
obviously
being something whenever Larkin did win that, with like he got a restart up and McDavid didn't, or something like that. Which also,
yeah, he took like they did a thing similar to what they did this year, where they did like the 3 feet behind the line, and then your time starts when you cross the line. So
yeah, which I think I like that because it does give
he
that
skated up to it,
extra,
and McDavid
momentum.
elected not to. McDavid just started cold at the line.
Yeah, which is I guess a strange decision if it's a decision.
Or maybe it was the next year McDavid had
know.
to start at the line. I don't know,
but it might have been a year over year thing. I don't remember. But
so
like
Dylan Larkin obviously is the fastest. We've already established that. The year and the time. Any thoughts?
I think I want to say 2017, and wasn't it like 1 minute 11, roughly?
It's 1 lap.
So like what they did this year too, right?
Yeah. So for reference, I think this year's fastest skater was
12 seconds. So
Jordan Kyrou with something like 13 and
13,
a half.
Yeah, 13.6. So I'm going to say his was probably 12.8.
I was also going to say 12.8, so I'll say 2018 because I do think it's in that area. And I'll say, we'll go Price is Right, and I'll say 12.9.
So I'm with you. I'm surprised it's as far in the past as it is 2016,
really?
Which I thought it was.
Wow.
I thought it was a lot more recently than that. I thought it was I would have said like 2018 or 2019, honestly. But it was roughly 13.2, 13.172. So a little bit,
Price is Right,
a little bit slower. There you go. And Matt Barzal last year came pretty close, and last All-Star game, he had a 13.175 in 2020. So he was he was 3 thousandths of a second slow on the record. Which honestly, I would have said Larkin won in 2020. To be honest, I thought he was the reigning champion. All right, so that leaves the last one, and this was one that was actually mentioned on the broadcast, so we can see how close of attention y'all were paying, if at all.
I definitely wasn't paying that close attention, so let's see if I heard this part.
Who holds the record for the accuracy shooter competition? Similarly, what is the year? And I'll tell you that it was this, and it is, though they went 4 for 4, obviously. The only way to really win,
Chris Chelios, 1996. And it was
Chelios, 1996.
It was like a ridiculous 6 or 8 seconds.
I thought I knew the answer, or at least the player. I saw they showed a clip of Mark Messier as well, so that was going to be my guess. The year I got no clue, or the time. I wasn't paying that close attention.
Chris Chelios has never won the accuracy shooter. So he certainly does not have the fastest time.
I think it was at least late 90s or maybe early 70s.
Mark Messier has won twice, as far as I can tell, in 91 and in 96, and he might be the fastest ever because that was before they started keeping time. So the official record is in a much more recent era.
Which also, too,
that,
if you have video of it, couldn't you just go back and time it?
fair.
Like,
think of the
Maybe
quality
not
of
to the
video.
thousandth of a second. Because
okay,
I don't
yeah,
know.
maybe not that
not
close.
to how fast that they
But-
can go. You could probably
Yeah.
get maybe to the 10th.
So I will say the person who has the record is in the draft era, if that makes the NHL All-Star draft era of All-Stars. So you all are thinking a little too.
I think I remember hearing this now. Yeah, I'll let Steve try and go here.
I'm thinking of a
Now
few
that you bring
players,
it up.
but I can't think of like one person. I can't put it on. I want to say it's like. Here's my question: are they still active or are they retired?
No, they've been retired for 2 or 3 years, I want to say.
Why do I want to say Jason Spezza for some reason?
He's still playing.
Yeah, I was gonna say he's not retired yet.
No, not him. Crap. Who was it? Who was it retired from Ottawa a few years ago?
I don't know, but this player has never played for.
But I think he's
Okay,
retired
so then-
a few more than a few years ago.
Bpoe, did you say you think you knew it?
I know. I'm pretty sure I know the player, but I do not know the year.
Here's a question.
Or the time.
Okay,
Did the player play for the Penguins at one point?
No.
If it helps, Steve, the player only played on one team.
Okay, yeah, I think Bpoe has it. Although, does Bpoe have the right one? If that makes sense.
That's what I'm not sure about, to be honest. I think I do, but I'm sort of.
All right,
second
Bpoe,
guessing.
you go ahead.
For greater context, the player only played for the Vancouver Canucks.
Oh, so it was one of the Sedins.
Yeah.
I'm guessing.
I think it was Henrik, they said?
It was
That was-
Daniel.
It was Daniel, okay.
I would have said Henrik.
So it was Daniel Sedin in the first year of the drafting, which was 2011.
Which wasn't he one of the captains of that? Or was it the other Sedin?
No,
Well, he was.
Henrik
It's saying that he was on
captain.
Team Stall, so I suppose not.
Okay.
So
Were the
And I'm
Sedins the
guessing if
captain?
his brother was a captain, he would have been the
I
first.
thought one of the Sedins were a captain.
Maybe in one of the later years.
Maybe it was a different year, yeah. If
Yeah,
not both.
So,
Oh, that would have been interesting.
any
Anyways.
thoughts on timing?
Okay, so Aho won this year with what did he win with? For
I think it was like 9-ish.
nine,
seven-ish,
roughly.
somewhere in the sevens,
No.
maybe 7.5. I'll go with my guess.
Steve,
I'm gonna say.
Which again, I don't remember what they said was the answer. So
I'm gonna say 6.5.
7.3. So Bpoe was
Okay.
pretty bang on. So those were the three I had. Since we've talked so much about it, I want to throw in save streak. It's only been done. I'm going to say 3 times because I'm not going to count this year because it was split. Save streak has only been going on since 2018, so you got a 1 in 3 shot at the year. But who has the record and how many saves did they get?
I think you might have said the answer earlier in the podcast. I remember.
But most certainly did.
Cam Talbot. Because you
Oh,
said that you. Okay.
most certainly
I thought
did
you
not.
said that you thought he didn't, or he. Oh, that was
No,
this year.
then
that
it'd
you
be
said that
Marc-Andre Fleury
that he
with
made
like
every
19.
save.
Yeah, it was Fleury.
That's what
It was Fleury.
It was-
Fleury.
It was
And I remember
what you
Fleury
said.
had-
You said that he didn't. That he made every save this year, and that
This
he
year,
got-
yeah.
That's what
I
it
think
was.
he could have,
Okay.
yeah. So Fleury won in 2018 with 14 saves.
Jesus.
And I think that
That's right.
covers pretty much all the recurring. And we could ask who has the record for the shooting stars in St. Louis that only occurred one time thing. But beyond that, that's pretty much all the historic record holders. Beyond who has won the breakaway competition the most times. But there was some allusion to that in tonight's contest.
And also, like, the breakaway contest is, more a spectacle than a competition.
Than a competition.
Especially,
yeah.
Especially
And tell
this year.
Petrolangelo actually is a
Right.
winner in the record books.
And also, like, some of the ones that they'd been replaying, like Corey Perry with the mini stick and Patrick Kane
Yeah.
with the, superhero and, that kind of stuff. And,
those
who
are
is it?
the real winners.
PK
If you're-
Subban dressing up his Yarmir Yager.
Yeah,
like,
if
that
you're
kind
in
of
the
stuff.
highlight package half a decade later, you're the
Yeah.
winner.
Like, I remember, whenever I was playing hockey at that point, going on the ice and doing a shootout with my team, at the end of a practice and bringing a mini stick and sticking it in my pants on the bench and going out there and doing that. Like, that's
Oh,
the type
yeah.
of thing that's really fun that, the
Oh,
NHL
yeah.
should definitely,
Oh, yeah.
support and encourage and, But anyways, we talked about that one already.
We did. Do better.
Is that the end of your
I was gonna
trivia?
say, is that a wrap? That's all I have, unless y'all have any last minute stuff. Got trivia for you. What is the score in the? Oh, and it just changed too. What is the score in the Canada-Finland game of the Women's Olympics with now like 5.5 minutes left in the second period? What do you think the score is?
3-2.
3-2.
I don't
Steve,
know.
what do you
I'm
got?
not even gonna pick which team has which score because I think
I'm going to say
Well,
like 4-1.
now that I think about it, I think Canada and U.S. tend, I think, in the women's
Canada,
side
US
are
are
a little bit, yeah. It's
a
a little bit
little
different with the men's side where
Canada
it's a
just
little more
scored a
even.
goal off the Finnish defender's shin. Bank pass. And I believe they just went up. Yeah, they just went up 6-1. So we're
Okay, yeah.
giving Finland a little bit too much credit.
I remembered afterwards that U.S. and Canada are a little bit more lopsided on the women's side.
It
The
is.
men's side's a little bit more even all around, even though there's still a couple of front runners.
Now it's with the NHL not going. It's Russia distant one, and then
Yeah.
a little
Which
bit
you
more.
and Will were, gonna do a preview podcast, but that ended up falling through.
I mean, there's still time. The men's tournament doesn't start for
True.
at least
True.
a few days still.
So if you
maybe we'll have
guys want to
another
hop
surprise
on, yeah, I can mediate and do my producer thing a little bit more than I can while I'm actually hosting because
Well,
you've probably noticed watchers that I don't flip between the views as often. It's just because I have to focus on other things such as talking and sometimes reference images. So it is
we'll
what
follow
it
up. We'll follow up with Will and see if we can get that one in there. I know I'm not the most well versed on international hockey, but I followed enough to have a rough idea.
Yeah, I wouldn't be joining in because I'm not well versed enough on the players participating. So if it was NHL players, I could pull together something, even though I'm far from a reputable source.
Maybe in 2026 we will have the privilege.
Maybe.
And on that note, I am out of here because I've been up for almost 20 hours.
Do it.
Yep, and I'm just going to end the podcast now. So
on that cheery note,
thank you all for listening. You can check out our Redbubble, our Instagram, our Twitter, any of our socials and whatnot. It's at our Twitter and Instagram is the _Jersey Nerds at the _Jersey Nerds. You can find a link in our bios there to find just about anything else you want from us. YouTube, Redbubble, the blog, so on and so forth. Thank you all for listening. Just ending a podcast now. How about you? And I forgot that the outro music doesn't come into effect for a couple seconds. There it is.
The Jersey Nerds podcast is a production of Jersey Nerds Media. The Jersey Nerds are Bpoe, Hunter, Justin, Chris, and Noah.
And Will.
Follow us on Instagram and Twitter at _Jersey Nerds and hit that link in our bio to find our blog, our Discord channel, our online store, and more. And be sure to rate, comment, and subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen to us. We really appreciate it. From the Jersey Nerds to you, thanks for just listening to a podcast about you.